Hey everybody, welcome back to the hangar deck. I wanted to give you update number 4 on the P3. Um, I've got all the custom decals made and on. That's the tail decal, and that's the nose decal. And at one time, our squadron had, all at the same time, had the Battle E, or Battle Efficiency, the Safety S, and the Coastal Command Trophy. So that's kind of what those depict right there. And we were known as the boomers, or the boomerangers. You know, we always came back, or we hoped to anyway. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how we make decals. I'm not going to do a tutorial on decals. There's plenty of really good tutorials out there. But I want to talk a little bit about what it takes to do a decal. If you want a white background, you have to use a decal paper that has a white background. Otherwise, you can't print white unless you paid between $5,000 and $10,000 for your printer. But as you can see, this decal paper says it has a white background. So when I cut this decal out, I had to cut right close to the edge everywhere I didn't want the white to show. And then I actually cut the SF out because I don't want white around the SF. And then I cut the little tip off and put all that on separately. And then I used the clear decal paper for the areas that I didn't need white. So if you were to do a custom decal paper and you were to do this right here, you would have to use the white decal paper in order to get the white star. Another way that I do decals is I actually don't do decals. I cut out stencils and then paint on the national emblem or the Navy or whatever it is that I'm going to paint on. So just about finished with decals. In fact, I am. All I need to do now is put on a little bit more gloss coat, and I'll be done with that. I'll be very close to being ready to do the final assembly. I'll be at home base hopefully all next week, so I may actually get this aircraft done next week. Okay, story time. I wanted to tell you a little story. If you look right here, see, yeah, you can see it. That little square right there, that was actually a hatch. And that was the HSC. That was the access to the HSC. HSC standing for Hydraulic Service Center. So you go up in the HSC. If you look forward, you saw the 3 hydraulic pumps. If you looked aft, you saw the 2 hydraulic reservoirs. You had a main and an auxiliary. And there's lots of tubing and stuff inside there. We've kind of talked about that in one of the other videos. But one of the things I didn't mention was straight up above you, when you go into the HSC, was the floor of the fuselage, but hanging from that floor was a nitrogen bottle. And this nitrogen bottle was used as the emergency brake. So if you lost hydraulic power and you still wanted to stop, most times pilots do want to do that when they land, you had this emergency brake and you could pull it and it would release this nitrogen into the hydraulic stream and put pressure on it, which would engage the brakes and make the plane stop. On our daily inspections, which we did a daily inspection daily, one of the things that we checked was the hydraulic reservoirs to make sure there was enough fluid in the hydraulic reservoirs. And then we also looked up in the top of the HSC and made sure there was enough pressure on the nitrogen bottle. Now, I had seen this filled before, and it gets really hot. Whenever you put, I think the low side of the hydraulic or of the nitrogen bottle was about 1600 psi. The high side was around 3,000. So maybe not quite that. Maybe it's 2,200, somewhere around in that neighborhood. And if it was a little bit lower than that, obviously we're going to raise it up. We're going to add some nitrogen bottle or nitrogen to the bottle. So incidentally, we did not fill our main landing gear and nose landing gear tires with regular compressed air. We actually used nitrogen. The reason why is it was dry and it didn't expand as quickly when it got hot like regular compressed air would. So I digress. So when it came time to fill the nitrogen bottle, the emergency nitrogen bottle, the way we would do that is we would order from maintenance control a NAN 2 cart. And it had, let's see, I think it was 4 on the bottom, 3 on the top, T bottles of nitrogen. So a T bottle is a bottle that's about 5 feet high, has about 1,800 psi of nitrogen or whatever it's made for in it. And they're laying on their side. Now, 1,800 psi in a bottle, the most you could get into our nitrogen bottle would be a little less than 1,800 psi. But the NAN 2 cart actually had a pump that would and an accumulator that would allow it to pump beyond that 1,800 psi. So it would get up into the 2,200 range to completely fill our bottle if we need to. So it was my turn. I saw that it was low, the nitrogen bottle was low, so it was my turn to fill it. I'd never done it before. I'd seen it done, but I'd never done it before. So I bring up the line, I attach it to the Schrader valve, turn on the pump. It starts pumping nitrogen. I open the Schrader valve and the bottle starts filling up. Well, there's a lot of noise and there is a lot of heat. When you fill up one of those bottles, when you force that nitrogen in, those bottles get hot. And so I'm standing there watching this bottle fill up, and I could touch it, and it was getting hot. It doesn't get hot enough to burn you, but it's hot enough that you don't want to keep your hand on it. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm kind of thinking, man, what would happen if this thing exploded? Why, it would be very devastating to Mrs. Andrews' son. This thing would obliterate me from about the belly button up. And you start thinking about that, and pretty soon you have to calm yourself down. You have to say, okay, this is everything's okay. Lots of people have done this. Everything's all right. I just need to follow the instructions. So I'm standing up on that ladder. Well, what nobody had ever told me is these NAN 2 carts, when the accumulator starts getting low, it takes a breath. And I'm standing there watching this bottle, and it's getting hot, and I'm thinking about all these things, and I'm trying to calm myself down. And all of a sudden, I hear this NAN 2 cart go, ka-whoosh! And I'm telling you, I nearly fell off that ladder. My legs went like that, and now I'm sure if somebody was watching me, they probably died laughing. And, I'm sure the ladder kind of moved a little bit, and oh, man, it scared me so bad. But then, I realized what had happened, and I was okay, and I finished the fill, and I turned it off, unhooked everything, and I'm sure that, whenever you have one of those adrenaline rushes, you're kind of weak a little bit. I got down off that ladder, and I'm sure I was really kind of weak. And rolled everything up and moved that cart back to the wingtip, and, oh, man, it was really something. It scared me bad. But anyway, I survived it. So it was one of those things that you never forget. And wanted to share it with you guys. Thought maybe that you would get a kick out of it. But anyway, that is my update for today and my story. And I'll relate some other great stories with you as I progress in this build. I hope that you're enjoying this and maybe learning a little bit too. And if you're interested more in how to make custom decals, please just hop up there on YouTube and put in making custom decals. I may link to one or two at some point, but there's a lot of good information out there. And I hope that y'all have a good weekend, and I hope that as you leave the hangar deck, that you watch out for the prop arcs, that you are mindful of the rotor blades, be careful of the jet intakes, and watch out for the jet exhaust. And pay attention and be careful out there, and always keep it within the legal limit. Alrighty, you guys take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.